So welcome back to our Puredata lessons. So today we take a look of the use of random number, where you can make use of the output from the random number to create some sort of chaotic effect in your presentation. So we start with an empty page with the initialization of the gem window, and other than that we have a box called random. And if you take a look of the help for this particular object, is essentially will create a random number, and you need to give, for example, a range such that whenever you click on the band, it will generate a random number. So we can have a look of the simple operation first, and then afterward we'll try to make use of this random number to change the position of our graphical objects. So the output of the random object will be a number, and it has two inlets. The first one is a band, will trigger the output of a random number, and the other one will be a range where you can specify. For example, if I put 10 around here, so whenever you click on the band, it will generate a random number within the range. So you can notice from this operation, you have a number between the range of 0 to 9. And then we do not guarantee you will have all different numbers. From time to time, you may have repetition of the number. For example, if you click on it, give you 3, and the next time you can have 3 again. So there's no guarantee you will have a different number for every click. So other than that, you can also embed the number within the objects such that random 10 will have the same effect of putting the number over here if you are pretty sure you only want the range between 0 and 9. And in our case, we'll make use of a number between 0 and 7 to play around with the position of a graphics. So again, we go back to this simple operation of gem. We have a gem head which creates an initialization of a graphical stream. And the other one, we will make use of the translate command in order to alter the position of a graphics. And the last one is a very straightforward and simple graphics. I create a square, a small rectangle with the same width and height. You can see I also put in the width and height together with the rectangle objects instead of using two inlets in the second and the third position of the inlet. And in order to have the automatic running or the producing of the random number, so other than we put the band over here, and we will use something we have learned before as an automatic control or automatic clicking of these band objects. So that's the one we have come across in the very early part of our tutorial. We can connect and match all objects, and the match all objects will automatically generate a band as a fixed period of time. And that period of time you can control by putting a number over here. For example, if I put in 100, So that means 100 milliseconds. So that means 1/10 of a second it will generate this particular band signal. And we start the band by using a toggle. So at this point we have a look of the operation without connecting the number and the graphics. Once you start the operation, you can see the automatic changing of this number. And in order to make use of this number and to translate it into a form which is required by the translate command within the jam window, we'll make use of the dimension of that particular jam window. So if you remember, in the very past, we also mentioned the measurement of this particular object when we do the translate command. So at the center point, which is the origin, would have the x, y, and z measure as 0. And when you would like to move this object towards the left-hand side, you change the x value into a negative number. When it comes to the default left margins of this standard window size, the value will be -4. And when you move it towards the right hand side, it will be +4. And again, if we have this basic knowledge, and we can insert a simple operation over here. And we start the operation again. So you can see the number, it will change from a negative to a +1 according to this random number -4. So once we have this number, we can connect it to the x position of the translate command. I can move it down a little bit. And the result of this operation will be, you have this one in the center. And once you start the metro objects over here, you see the random moving of this particular objects or square. And after that, we can also take a closer look of this particular random number generator. And according to the help, it will give you the name as pseudo random number, because the number it generates is pretend to be random, but actually it's not very random. And in order to create a more random effect, usually we'll put in something called a seed. For a lot of the random number generator, it requires some number to initialize the random number generation process. And this number, usually we have the name called seed. And if you have a fixed seed in the very beginning of your random number generation, and the sequence of random number is a kind of predictable, in a sense, you will always generate the same sequence of number when you try to make use of this random number generator. So a lot of cases, we will make use of more random seed as a way to create the more random effect of the generation. And one of the recommendations in the help is you can make use of the timer. So this is timer objects, the timer objects will give you the logical time it elapsed when you start this particular timer objects. And the case to start or stop or reset that timer objects is the responsibility of the first inlet. Once you click in this particular band, it will start or reset the timer. And the second one will actually output that particular time as a number to the outlet. So we can have a look of this operation. First, we create two band objects, one to the right hand side, one to the left hand side. And then the output of the timer object will be a number. And by clicking the first one, we start the timer. By clicking the second one, we'll output that timer number to the box over here. And we can also reset it. Okay, so this particular button will be a kind of reset function in order to provide a new seed for the random number to generate. So in that case, we can do by connecting this number to the seed and then connecting the seed message to the random objects. So when you would like to run again, you can reset the timer and then provide a new seed and then have a look of the new sequence of the random number. So whenever you press over here, it will provide you with a new random number seed for you to generate the sequence. In a lot of the patch operation, for the first parameter of the timer object, they will recommend you to use, for example, another object, and that object with a name called low band. So the low band object is actually, we have briefly covered in the last exercise. It will generate a band signal through its outlet to whatever object connected to it. So the signal will be initiated in the very beginning when you open this particular patch. So once you open the patch, it will generate the initialization signal over here. And then afterward, if you close the patch again and reopen it again, it will generate the second band signal. So in that case, you kind of more or less will initialize this particular timer object once you open the patch. And if you would like to, for example, initialize the seed, you can just click on this in order to create a new seed for the random number generator. So this is one of the basic use of the random number objects. You can make use of it to control, for example, the position, the rotation, the size of different geometrical attributes of graphical objects. And again, you can optimize this particular patch by removing some of the redundant objects. For example, this particular band objects, you can remove it by connecting with one single line. And this particular number you can also remove. And this number you can also remove in order to streamline your operation. I include it for the demonstration such that you can have an understanding what will be the input and output between these two particular objects and between these two and these two. Okay, so this is the end of this particular exercise on the use of random objects.